ho, ho, boys and ghouls, and a blessed Yule to all. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, as much as I used to love Christmas, being stuck in the middle of a global pandemic that forces me to self-isolate has kinda killed my enthusiasm this year. The only silver lining is that Creepshow released a holiday special. If you want to know more about the history of Creepshow, I would definitely recommend checking out my review for the animated special, which goes much more into depth in terms of where this franchise started out. Creepshow had the benefit of a behind-the-scenes cast that, quite frankly, kicks. But for now, let's just jump straight into this special. So the holiday special follows one Robert Weston, a young man seeking out a support group because he has reason to believe that he may be eating people in his sleep. You know, that classic Christmas conflict. On another note, his overacting is almost enough to make me want to skip the episode.
That's the password that was given to me, so.
Robert explains that he believes he may have been turned into a werewolf by an elderly Roma woman who lives in his apartment and who was annoyed by him because he brushes his teeth too loud. I have so many questions. Are elderly Roma women the only people who can curse you with lycanthropy? What about elderly Roma men or younger Roma people? Oh, I'm running on the assumption that the ability to curse people with lycanthropy is something that's inherent to all Roma people in horror movies. Just like it's inherent for black people to die first and white people to make the dumbest decision in every situation ever. Also, if I had the ability to curse people with dangerous man-eating wolf powers, I think I'd be a little choosier as far as who I'd pick. Is this lady really just cursing anyone who she just finds mildly annoying? She's like a millionaire! How many people do you think she's turned into a werewolf by this point? Werewolf! I'm sorry, ma'am. I just couldn't find one in your size. Werewolf! I'm so sorry, old Roma lady, my love, but things just aren't working out between us. Oh, you are definitely getting turned into a werewolf. Or maybe all Roma people have the ability to curse you with lycanthropy. It's only the old women who are doing it because they've lost their mind to old age. Anyway, this reveal prompts the other people at the support group to announce that they are shapeshifters as well. They claim that most new shapeshifters assume that they're werewolves at first, because that's the type of shapeshifter that the media glamorizes the most.
Planet Hollywood has nothing on you guys.
But the reality is that you can turn into any animal at the full moon, which I think is a fun and creative idea. Not only does it open up this mystery regarding what type of animal Robert turns into, it also gives us some comedic options for the other shapeshifters at the support group. For example, this guy turns into a tortoise. This guy turns into a boar, which everyone mocks him for, but I mean, come on. Have you seen boars? Pumbaa's terrifying, you guys. This lady here isn't a shapeshifter at all. She's just a furry looking to score, I guess. No, literally, they state that her fursona is a hippopotamus, because of course it is.
I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
And the only real female shapeshifter at the support group is a horny cheetah, because being a furry is okay if it's a cat girl. Come on, really? At the rate that old Roma lady's been at it, this support group should look more like a college lecture. As the full moon is still quite a ways away, and Robert is impatient to find out what kind of animal he turns into, they decide to perform a test that, for some reason, involves the horny cheetah trying to catnip.
It's catnip.
They perform the test and they discover that Robert is a werewolf. Wow. That's a little disappointing. It isn't as though werewolves aren't cool, it's just that they've been done before. And this was a great opportunity to introduce us to something new, like a were-bear or a were-hyena or something truly terrifying like that. And for the record, I did kind of wonder if this was the setup to a joke where Robert would think that he was a werewolf, but when the time came for him to actually, change, then he'd suddenly discover that he's actually a were-corgi. But, nah, he's just a werewolf. Robert still feels kind of bad about that whole killing people thing, but now that they know that they're both predators, Horny Cheetah suddenly wants to meow Robert even more. How often do you think that support group meetings end in penthouse forum letters with her around? Horny Cheetah reveals that shapeshifters don't eat people if the animal that they turn into isn't a predator. And meanwhile, predator shapeshifters only eat bad people because, as she puts it,
We find evil tastier.
now at this point I know what you're all thinking. Man, this holiday special has been about as festive as my channel has been this year. Oh, but wait. It gets better. So the support group reveals that Robert only has one thing to fear in his new life as a shapeshifter: Santa Claus. No, not in a baby at the mall sort of way. Rather, it's Santa's actual purpose to hunt and kill shapeshifters. I have so many questions. They say that Santa started leaving presents for children because he felt guilty about killing their parents. But if that's the case, then why does he only ever seem to feel guilty on Christmas morning? Why did he start leaving presents for kids whose parents he hadn't killed? Unless this movie might take place in some sort of weird dystopian universe where old Roma lady has actually turned roughly half of the world's population into werewolves, so that every single child has at least one shapeshifter parent, and that means that every single person has had at least one parent killed in their childhood by Santa Claus. In which case, why didn't Robert already know about this? I'm starting to think this story's just nonsense. At this point, an army of Santas show up to kill them, because I guess that was the only way that Creepshow could think of to make this somehow Christmas related. Everyone tries to hold their ground with guns that for some reason sound like staplers. But then this mysterious guy shows up and offers them a potion that turns them into their respective animals. Is it just me, or does the tortoise guy look a little bit like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle post-retirement? Also, whoa, look at the boar guy. I told you those things were terrifying. This might be a good time to mention that this special was directed by Greg Nicotero, a special effects and makeup artist who has some pretty credible titles to his name, including The Walking Dead, Sin City, and one of my all-time favorite movies, Evil Dead 2.
Groovy.
And that doesn't even scratch the surface of his career, by the way. I wanted to mention more, but lest this video become an hour-long list of movie titles, let's move on. The majority of the special effects are practical, and that was a bold choice considering werewolf makeup is notoriously hard to pull off. And this special had the added challenge of not only trying to add lupine features to a human, but feline, porcine, and reptilian. Out of all of them, I think the horny cheetah looks the best, although I am having mild cats flashbacks and it's killing me. But as cool as the boar guy looks, I'm not sure that this communicates pig to me. Like seriously, if you got attacked by this thing, how would you describe it the next day? A werepig or a very hairy orc from Lord of the Rings?
Looks like meat's back on the menu.
They also resort to some pretty cheap tricks, like cutting away to imply transition. So I suppose that your enjoyment of the special is going to have a direct correlation to your tolerance for these kind of things. I already said that one of my favorite movies was Evil Dead 2, so it's no surprise that I'm pretty used to cheap tricks and practical effects. This doesn't bother me, and in fact, it's very reminiscent to the sort of movies that I love. But I can understand how someone with a taste for a newer style of special effects would find this cheesy and hard to watch. But I know there's only one question on everyone's mind right now. What about the furry? The furry drinks the potion in the hopes that it will turn her into a shapeshifter, and it doesn't. But she still bravely murders Santas alongside the shapeshifters.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
But oh no, it's the final boss Santa, and he's here to stuff some stockings and kick some ass, and he's all out of stockings. Things aren't looking all that jolly, but then the mysterious stranger suddenly turns into A pretty badass werewolf, I have to admit. Seriously though, why would they even bother to introduce this idea of different animal shapeshifters if the only things that they were gonna do were 2 werewolves, 1 creature that kinda looks like a werewolf, a horny cat girl, and a turtle and a half shell? It was the cat girl, wasn't it? But none of this really matters because as it turns out, the badass werewolf was nothing more than a distraction so that our real hero, the furry, can decapitate final boss Santa.
I hereby remit myself to your muscular custody.
Why did you do that 5,000 years ago?
I didn't know that was possible. That was... wow.
What, you didn't know that you could just slice his head off? Man, you would have made the worst Highlander. The cover of a romance novel congratulates everyone on gaining full control of their powers. And then he offers to turn the furry into a werewolf, but she isn't having it because her true fursona is a hippopotamus. And oh my god, what the fuck is this movie? Oh my...
Only a hippopotamus will do.
Fabio 2020 admits that turning her into a were-hippo is just outside of his abilities, but she might get her wish if she sits on Santa's lap. We then watch this grown woman sit on the ass of a decapitated Santa's corpse, while every suburban housewife's wet dream coaches her through it. This doesn't work, but apparently she gets her second choice for wishes. Little Yachty shows up and whisks her off for what I presume to be incredibly kinky sex.
First, set the bank and get you the $100 million.
Robert asks the horny cheetah if she'd like to go on a date, and she responds by saying that she too would prefer to have some incredibly kinky sex.
I have a leash and a king-sized bed.
Thus, ending the holiday special on this important message. We should all just put on our fursuits and our leashes and have a good time. So, I have a confession to make. I sort of love this special. It's cheesy and bad, but have you seen my channel? I'm kind of a fan of cheesy and bad. If I were to scroll down to the comment section right now and find a whole bunch of people disagreeing with me, I wouldn't be surprised. But end of day, this special did make me laugh on multiple occasions and I enjoyed the practical effects. 8 rounds of incredibly kinky sex out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, my pets, and I hope that you have a very safe and happy holidays.
I want a hippopotamus to play with and enjoy.
Although donating to my Patreon is unnecessary, it is hugely appreciated. As little as $3 a month could help me put out many more videos. In that note, I would like to thank Wilson L. Ricks III, Scott Falks, and Andre K. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. I can't wait to see you all next time.